Welcome back, folks, to the Mailwright Show. This is episode 190. We've got a great guest for this week's episode. We've got Josh Schoenly of the Client Alchemist. I love that name, Josh. I just love it. And I've got my great co-host, Robert Newman, as well. Robert, would you like to quickly introduce yourself to the new listeners and viewers?
Sure. I'm Robert Newman. I'm the founder of Inbound Real Estate Marketing. We are a SEO-focused lead generation company located in California.
And I've got great news, listeners and viewers. It's been our biggest month so far, the biggest week of downloads ever for the show. So that's great news. Josh, would you like to introduce yourself quickly to the listeners and viewers?
Sure. Josh Schoenly. I'm the co-founder of a company called Client Alchemist. Our sort of tagline and the whole idea behind Client Alchemist is we help you turn leads into gold instead of lead into gold. So how we can attract potential clients and connect with them and get into conversation with them, so we have the opportunity to service them. I'm also a licensed agent with EXP Realty. I've been a licensed agent for 14 years now, but had been inactive for quite a while, and just recently reactivated for a number of reasons. And I've been in the industry since about 2005 or 6 in various capacities, and found very quickly that what I loved and was most passionate about was the marketing aspect, how we can go from not having clients, not having a sphere of influence, not having a referral base to building that database of clients and then turning them into repeat and referral business. And that's been my passion for, since the mid 2000s, and continues to be my passion today.
Oh, that's great, Josh. So your kind of real catchphrase is how to attract the ideal clients. So obviously the opening question, a slightly large one, is how do you attract your ideal clients?
Sure. So I think the first and in a lot of cases, the hardest part is taking the time to understand who your ideal clients are. We see this time and time again, and I've seen it for years. Real estate agents who you're kind of in this deadly cycle of commission check to commission check. And so any client is a good client. But the reality is, if you sit down and take the time to identify who your ideal clients are, you can build a business by design instead of one that's just chasing this and chasing that and so forth. And so the way that we look at identifying your ideal client starts with geographically speaking. Where do you want to grow your business? For me, when I reactivated my license recently, I had a ton of clarity on that already. It's the township that I live in. And specifically, the reason why I chose that is A, I live in that township. B, I'm already well connected in the township. I volunteer various places. I know a lot of people and so forth. So getting crystal clear, because, lots of agents, they try to service an entire county or entire, they're a single agent, but they're trying to service all of the greater Cincinnati area. And that's just foolish, right? You can't be all things to all people. So starting with geographic area, target area, and it could be a single zip code. It could be a township. It could be, if you're in, depending on the kind of market you're in, it could be one neighborhood or subdivision. Where I live, they're not very large, so that wouldn't work, but there are areas where there are subdivisions in the thousands of homes. Well, that might be your geographic target area. And then looking at what type of clientele do you like to work with? Do you like to work with first-time home buyers? Do you like to work with sellers? Do you like to work with baby boomers who are looking to downsize, right? There's no right or wrong answers to these questions. There's only the answers that make the most sense or are the right answer for you and your business. So getting really crystal clear on how you attract your ideal client is step one. Step two is, what are you going to do to attract them? What kind of content are you going to create to get those people that we've identified as our ideal clientele audience base, the ones that are interested in real estate. What are we going to do to get them to raise their hand so that we can connect with them in some way? And the beautiful thing about the internet is, and the growth of Facebook and Google and so forth, is there are many, many ways that we can connect with them now. So it's not just them, somebody picking up the phone and calling you. It's, just by visiting your website or watching a video that you put together, or clicking on a lead ad, or clicking on just engaging with a post on Facebook. There are lots of ways that we can build audiences now that didn't exist when I first got started. I mean, when I first got started, the way we connected was, they had to fill out a web form on a website, and that still works great, but there are many other ways that we can do that as well. And then once we've connected with them, how can we get into conversation with them so we can identify the ones that are ready now or ready in the short term? They have real motivation to buy or sell real estate in the short term. And how do we get into conversation with them, while also being able to identify and get into conversation with people that are interested, but their timeline's a little bit longer, and then creating a plan for following up with them such that when their motivation hits a tipping point, it's already a foregone conclusion that you're going to be the professional of choice. It's not, you're not competing against everybody else, because you've demonstrated value. You've provided good information. You've been maybe entertaining on some level. And it becomes, like I said, a foregone conclusion. You don't have to compete for the business. You're there and ready to take the business when that clientele hits that tipping point.
I just love it, Josh. You've distilled in about 5 minutes what me and Robert have been literally saying for the past 8 months, I think.
Right on.
You've come to the right podcast, Josh.
All right. Well, that's the sense I got when you invited me on, so I'm glad it's 100% congruent.
What do you reckon, Robert?
I like it. I like everything he had to say. I always like to do, but it's all extremely high level. And I think that we probably just lost about 40% of our clients. Either we lost them, or there's probably 40% that think that they know most of what you just said. But I'm curious to know, Josh, so you before the show started, everybody, Josh mentioned that he had just gotten his license, that he was re-getting his license, which means that most likely, at least as a case study, you're going to probably try to get some clients for yourself, right?
Absolutely.
For some real estate clients. All right. So how are you going to do that? We know who your client is because you just shared with us.
Yeah.
You don't need to mention the name of the community. It doesn't matter for the podcast. But how now So what's your next step? How are you going to go get them?
Well, so I've already been doing that. In fact, I have a listing appointment this afternoon.
Okay.
And for me, because for a number of factors, when I sat down and thought about, okay, who's my ideal client? It started with, in my case, the township that I live in, just because that's the way it is in Pennsylvania here. And then I thought, well, I'm busy. I have 4 kids. I have other companies. I have other, activities and so forth. So I'm going to focus on the seller side, the listing side, because that'll create leverage for me. And then I went about crafting campaigns, several different campaign ideas to get those folks, the homeowners in my township to raise their hand in some form or fashion to indicate that, yeah, they're thinking about selling in the near future, whether the near future is the next couple months or over the next year.
You're talking about digital marketing campaigns, are you?
All digital marketing.
Okay.
Facebook and a little bit of Google.
Okay.
And so, I don't know how deep or tactical you want me to get, but so the very first campaign or offer that I put out there, again, with the intent of attracting and connecting those clients, was an offer that we help our clients set up for themselves, which is to offer a free weekly list of all the just sold homes in blank area. So in the target area that I'm looking to serve, or the client is looking to serve. And so that was the first campaign that I sort of deployed. And that's the campaign that led to this listing appointment tonight, and several others that are have indicated interest, but just not quite ready. They don't really want to list until school lets out here locally. So that was kind of step one, was deploying that campaign.
Did you really have this list? Did you have the deliverable? I'm curious.
Oh yeah, well, it's a list that it's all I do, and all we recommend our clients do is you build the list in your MLS. I mean, it's just a report from the MLS that we're not making publicly available, right? We're making it available to people who opt into our database, and then just delivering that. And ideally, not just delivering the report, but over delivering, right? So maybe an additional report talking about 10 things you can do to prepare your home for sale when you're ready, or 5 ways to improve your the curb appeal of your house, things along those lines. But it just started with offering that report and putting that out, deploying that as a Facebook lead ad campaign, and letting it do the work, right? Showing it to the to those potential ideal clients, and when they opt in, I send them the report through the CRM platform that I'm using, and just follow up with them. And
you're covering all the good stuff, and I don't want it to be a mystery to our clients. Everything that you're mentioning right now, we've probably done a show on that one particular concept. Like, we've done shows on Facebook marketing. We've had Facebook marketing experts on the show, and we've done, and so all of this stuff that you're so casually running by, we've done a segment that focuses on the one strategy. So if unless I'm asking you a question you're not comfortable answering.
Listen, I'm an open book. I'm 1,000% transparent.
Okay.
I don't hide anything. So fire away.
All right. So what's the CRM? You just kind of said, hey, there's just the CRM I'm using. Which one is it?
So what I'm using is KV Core.
Okay.
I'm using that because I'm with EXP, and it comes as an EXP agent, and it's a wonderful platform. A lot of our clients, if they don't have access to something like that, we love and recommend LionDesk. So those are kind of the two that, and I actually have, I use LionDesk as well for some other real estate related things that I do. Mm-hmm. But in this case, that campaign I just described, that's all run through KV Core, and we set up the campaign on Facebook. When someone submits their information, we're using Zapier, however you, and that sends the information into KV Core, and KV Core sends out the, I actually have it set up so that it sends a text and an email automatically to the person that requested the report. Mm-hmm. The email gives them the report, and the text just says, hey, I emailed you the report that you requested. And I forget, there's a question in there of some kind. What is the question? I might have to look that up. But it's all designed to create a conversation, right? Just to get engagement. We're not trying to sell them anything right then and there. We're just trying to have a conversation to determine 2 things. Number 1, can I help or serve this person? And then when can I best help or serve this person? I'm not trying to sell anything. I'm just trying to determine if I can have the opportunity to serve them.
Right. And so with this particular, like the listing appointment they're going on today, so they made some type of inquiry on the text message, I would presume.
Yep.
Do you happen to recall how fast you were able to respond to the inbound note from the prospect?
I'm looking down because I'm pulling up the app right now. I think I can tell you with pretty good certainty. Let me see if I can find it. Okay, so she originally requested the report at about 10 in the morning, and she responded to the automated text, which, by the way, I have it up here. So the text says, the blank area just sold homes report should be in your inbox. And I should probably put email inbox, but whatever. Just curious, what neighborhood do you live in? Because the township that I serve, we have a ton of different neighborhoods, and the price ranges like some of the neighborhoods are similar, but some of them can be pretty diverse.
Okay.
Again, I'm just trying to get a conversation. So she says, I live in blank neighborhood and I'm planning to sell within the next 2 months. She sent that at 10:18. I responded at 10:30. So 12 minutes later, which ideally I would have responded even sooner. I don't know if I just didn't see it come in or if I was in the middle of something, but whatever the case may be. So I said, terrific, thanks. I'll send you a custom report for the neighborhood that you sent, which I emailed to them. And then the conversation went to email. And that's how I've actually not talked to this person on the phone. I've talked to her through text and email, and I'll meet her for the first time at 4:00 today.
Awesome. Listen, John, thank you so much for allowing me to ask all the questions.
Yeah, absolutely, brother.
Go down the rabbit hole with you because I'm finding it very helpful. And here's my guiding principle about doing a podcast or writing content on my website. I mean, I always look at something and go, if there's something that I'm finding useful, then probably my clients will as well. And now I'm a marketer, so numbers and specifics make the most difference to me because I can design my thoughts around, but the general stuff, there's 9,000 different places you can find people who generally say, oh, identify who your best client is. And even that can be a little bit tricky because like I'm in Van Nuys and everything in California, and everything in California right now is like $750,000 to $1.5 million. Everything in real estate is cost that much. So my ideal client is somebody who has damn well near $1 million to spend on a house. If I'm a real estate agent, right?
So in that case, geographically, if you can be the guy or the gal in a specific zip code, or even all of Van Nuys, even in a specific property type or something so there's still ways that you can kind of carve out a niche, even in a scenario like that.
Sure.
I think that's great. We're going to go for our break. We're going to be talking some more with Josh, the lead alchemist, the man that can turn lead into gold, folks. We'll be back in a few moments. We're coming back. Robert's been getting very specific with Josh. Josh, the man that can turn lead into gold, something which has eluded me for most of my professional career. So, I've got one quick question, and then I'm going to let Robert continue the interrogation.
Hey.
No, but I'm only joking. Have you, obviously, getting a CRM from your broker and it being free is fantastic news. But there's something I've learned about the internet and things in general. Nothing is for free, really. Mm-hmm. Have you got any concerns about using something that comes from your broker? Because fundamentally, it's a strange relationship, agents with their brokers, isn't it? Because you're really building your own business, but you're also working with a broker. Are you a little bit concerned about, because obviously you're going to be sharing that database with your broker because they're providing it to you?
Yeah. So my opinion is that your database is your business. And if you're sharing that with your broker, then you don't own it. And so I know that there are some great solutions that are broker provided, but I would never be comfortable in a scenario where I was sharing that and if I would not be comfortable if tomorrow I left that broker and I didn't get to take my business with me. So if that's the relationship you're in, it probably merits thinking about. And I know brokers may not like that, but as someone who is an agent who's been in those shoes, listen, your database is your business, and if you leave and go somewhere else and you don't get to take your business with you, then you're starting from scratch. So Yeah, I'm a big believer of building your database and making sure that it is portable to you, that it is yours and
So
yours.
you're using this tool that they're freely providing, and it's a great tool. I know it well. But obviously, because they're providing it, they will have access to your database. But as long as you can get that data out of it easily, and you're not.
Yeah. Okay. So you were asking specifically for me. Yeah. So even though the brokerage provides it, it's not a scenario with, at least the way our broker works, where the database is our database. They may be able to access it.
Well, I'm sure they can actually if they're providing it.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, so can but yeah, I mean, you can get down a funky road there anyway, because, even with a different provider, somebody can have access. Either way, in my scenario, if I were to leave, I would obviously strategically export my database and take it with me. Yeah. And there's no agreement. Like, some brokers will have explicit agreements that you have to sign that say, it's theirs and so forth. And there's nothing in place with that. Yeah. But the cautionary tale is, make sure, if you're spending your time and money to build your database, that it really truly is your database.
Oh, thanks for saying that. Over to you, Robert.
Well, you kind of took a looper there. So I guess I'm just gonna follow up on your looper though. Josh, so I've loved everything that you've shared so far, and I'm extremely impressed by your level of detailed knowledge, especially as it relates to our vertical in real estate. Some of the guests that we get are marketing specialists in general who could service real estate agents. You are an agent, which puts you, in my mind, head and shoulders above some of those other people, just in terms of usefulness, not doing any other comparison.
Sure.
Just all of our entire audience is real estate.
Yeah.
We're not a diverse show. We focus only on real estate.
Sure.
So having said that, so let's say you're building your database right now. You're adding some names to it. You're running some test markets. You're obviously kicking the tires on this new focal point for your businesses. What is going to be your system of maintaining those prospective leads once you have them? So let's just say we've collected 100 names. They are all in your target demographic, so your niche has been served. What are you going to do to stay in front of them now that you have them?
Great question. So, number one, the offer that we make oftentimes will help us with how to stay in touch. So, for example, the offer that I've started with is a free weekly list of all the just sold properties in blank area, which means I'm going to send you a weekly list. So at a minimum, every week, I'm going to send out the updated list with all the properties that sold in the last week. So that's at the very minimum. For me personally, and what we recommend, some additional follow-up and contacts that we recommend are either a weekly or a monthly market update, which can be done as simply as opening up your MLS, or if you have a good IDX solution, bringing up information about the properties that have been recently listed, or properties that have been price reduced, properties that have sold, things of that nature, and just talking about what's going on over the last week or over the last month. You can use free online software to make those kind of videos, Screencast-O-Matic, Loom. There's lots of solutions to do that. And then simply sending that out. We have different kind of templates that we recommend, but one wonderful sort of email strategy that you can use is, once you start getting results, is turning those into stories that you can then send out as well. So for example, let's say I get this listing. I know that this listing is going to sell quickly just because of what my market looks like. Right. Well, once it does, or even once it is listed, I'm going to turn that into a story that I can then send out. And I might ask the database, who do you know that might be interested in this home? Or I might turn it into a story about the conversations that we had when I met with the person about how to best prepare their home so it will sell quickly. those kind of things. And then once it does go under contract, then we can tell that story. Hey, we listed this property on Tuesday. We had multiple offers over the first 72 hours, and it went under contract on Friday. The market's great. If you've been thinking about selling or know someone who is, we should chat. Here's how to reach me. So that kind of relational, conversational type of email or texting, or even just content even that can be put on your blog or on your Facebook page, we found that works great with deepening the connection with that audience, and then getting into the conversation with the folks who maybe when they first came into your database, they weren't at a tipping point, but now they are for whatever reason.
Right. So for our audience, I'm going to break this down a little bit. Josh just shared with us that he's using a combination of a case study and a social proof, and here's why that's relevant. So from a perspective of, let's say that you own a home and you're getting ready to list it, one of the things that you always want to look for if you are doing a little bit of research is you want to see like an absolute, like if you're going to talk to somebody, listen to somebody. I love all the concepts that Josh is bringing forward, because I personally do this in my own real life. When I'm looking at maybe a vendor or I'm looking at my pool guy, the first thing that I do is check his reviews. Now, you didn't suggest a review, but what you did suggest was what we did for this client that worked, which is the same thing as a review, except you're putting forth the information. And if you're clinical about it, in other words, and you seem to be very clinical in this conversation, like if you say, this is what we did on A, and this was the date, and then this is what we did on B, and this is the date, and then this is what happened on C. These are the 3 offers that we got. We accepted offer 2 because blank, 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 and then the house was under contract. Total length of time was 3 weeks. That's the kind of hard data that I personally seek as a consumer, and everybody else is going to feel the same way. That is a different type of social proof than a review. It's saying, if you do this with me, subtly it's saying, this is the result you'll get. You're painting a very vivid picture inside the client's mind. And that's and that's exactly what you want to do as a marketer with that. And you don't want to hammer them over the head with it, in my opinion.
Well, you're indirectly showing the value that you bring without having to say I'm great, or I'm this, that, or the other thing, or I have these certifications, or I'm top 5% of this, whatever. You're just letting the story of the transaction tell all of that unconsciously or subconsciously to the person,
right.
Versus having to tout your wares, or beat the drum for yourself.
Which I think that beating the drum marketing is dead. That's my personal opinion. That's why I stay away from it as an inbound marketer. Who cares if you're top 5? Who cares if you're number 1? I don't think people care anymore. I think they care, what will you do for me? When I hear number 1, I actually sometimes in my brain I hear, that means that you're really busy and you may not have time to service me as a client. Strangely, that's what I hear.
Not everyone would think that way, but a lot of people would, right? It would actually accomplish the opposite of what you're looking to accomplish.
Right.
It
was like, sorry, John, go ahead.
No, we're going to have to wrap up the podcast part of the show. Josh, hopefully, is going to stay on with us for another 10, 12 minutes.
Sure.
Which you'll be able to watch on the Mailrite YouTube channel. Go and subscribe. Or go to the Mailrite website and learn more about Mailrite, where we get you quality leads. In our way, we turn lead into gold as well. Josh, how can people find out more about you, your ideas, and your services?
Sure. So you can find me on Facebook, on Instagram, on Twitter. Josh Schoenly is where you can find me there. You can check out our website at clientalchemist.com. Clientalchemist.com. You can check out the blog there. You can grab a copy of my book, kind of outlining our 4-step process. And hit me up on social. I'd love to connect with any of the listeners. That'd be great.
Oh, and you definitely have to come back on the show. Hopefully,
I'd love to.
agree that I think we're just kind of scratched the surface.
Yeah.
And you could be interrogated some more by Robert, but there we go. Robert, how can people find out more about you, your thoughts, and what you're up to?
Well, I'm the founder of Inbound REM, and that's all the information that you need. So you can go and search that. Today, I want to give out massive props again to Jonathan. Every single day, it feels like every week, our audience is growing. Josh, we're up to a few thousand dedicated listeners every single month.
Awesome.
Real estate specific. And that number seems to be increasing rapidly because I don't know, we're finally getting past that, And so anyway, I want to say thank you to all our audience members. I want to say thank you to Josh. I strongly suggest that you check out his website. I haven't looked at it myself, just in the spirit of transparency, but this is definitely a person that I think knows what he's talking about. And if he's done what any good digital marketer has done, he has something on there he's going to offer you for free that that you can download or take a look at in exchange for your information. And it's probably a pretty good piece of digital content unless I miss my guess. So yeah, that's all I got, guys.
All right, that's great. We'll be back next week with another great guest. Actually, we do. We've got another fantastic guest next week, and he'll be sharing his knowledge and insights with you, so you have a record 2019. We'll see you next week, folks. Bye. Right, bonus content. I was gonna ask you something that's been ongoing element in our conversations. That's video, and utilizing video in your local market. How do you see that in your own strategy and in other agents' strategy? Really, John?
Yeah, it's funny. I've been beating the drum for video for probably 10 years, maybe more, and I think it's finally starting to come around. And I understand that a lot of the resistance is just, people being uncomfortable. It's like public speaking, right? People are just uncomfortable with that. But if you can get past that, the amount of impact that you can make with very simple, short video content that all can be created with your phone. I mean, the video cameras that we now have in our pockets are, light years past what we had to spend hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of dollars for, 5-10 years ago. So the way I'm using it personally and recommend are short little video teasers live to camera, which you could do in front of a new listing. You can even take a walking tour through a listing, things of that nature, using it to create market update type of videos, whether a weekly or monthly. That's great content. And people love real estate. Even if you're not looking, my wife, we're not really going to move. We love our house. We love our neighborhood. She's looking at houses all the time. Right. So we all love, and that's why, that's why HGTV is so popular. We love looking at houses and knowing what's going on in that voyeuristic nature. Like, oh yeah, what did Bill's house down the street sell for? Or what did they list it for? That kind of stuff. So taking that curiosity that there is around real estate and putting content out there and positioning you as the professional that when somebody does hit a tipping point of motivation, that you've already made that connection with them. You've built rapport, you've built a relationship with them, even if they've never met you personally, or even if they've never responded to anything. You have still built a relationship with them because they can consume your content, and you can build that sort of relationship on one to many without that, without having to pick up the phone and talk with every single person. So yeah, it's going to be a huge part of what I do and going to continue to be a big part of what we recommend and how we teach our clients to best attract and connect with those ideal clients.
That's great, Josh. Robert?
Well, are you asking me for my well, okay, so where do you upload your videos to? Are you always on YouTube, or are you using something? Because you mentioned earlier in the call, you mentioned Screencast-O-Matic, and they allow you to upload it to a private server. I've never heard of the other service that you actually mentioned real quickly at the beginning.
Yeah, Loom is actually, it's a Chrome extension. Okay. That you can log in with Google, and it's great. Like You can create screen share videos and even have your little face webcam in the bottom. But in either case, when I create a video, I'm thinking about, I want it to always be native. So definitely uploading to YouTube, definitely uploading directly to your Facebook page. So I'm not talking about taking the YouTube link and putting it on Facebook, but actually uploading the video there. And even if you're building an Instagram presence, uploading it there either to IGTV or IG Stories, and leveraging it and keeping people native to where they are at, because that's where you're going to get the most engagement and therefore the most consumption. And that's really all you want, is someone to consume the content. So it's up to us as the marketer, the professional, to make it as easy as possible for those ideal clients to consume that content. And so an example might be, if I'm out in the field and I want to shoot a video, I might do a Facebook Live, but then I will, when I'm back in front of my computer, I'll download that, upload it to YouTube. I might upload it to Instagram. And so it depends on where or how the content was created originally, the flow of how I'm going to post here and there and so forth. But I do believe 100% in making it the content native to the platform.
Right. Which is excellent. And
yeah.
I would agree with entirely. And we could go into a show about each one of those platforms and how to properly post native content to each of them. But you touched on something. So I'm gonna get into this for just a brief second here.
Yeah.
So for our audience, at the very tail end of our bonus content, Josh then touches on using live, which is one of the few things that, like in terms of guerrilla marketing weapons, that is available to a real estate agent or professional that does not have an established or very large digital marketing budget. I've been suggesting briefly at the tail end of other content that live is the way that I would do that. Like, because it pops up into your feed automatically. You get the biggest broadcast on all the services, on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook. When you use their live applications, it gets you in front of all the people that are subscribed to you, and it does it for free. So you basically get to send out a blast notification on each one of those platforms that says that you've produced something, which is a very subtle way to get in front of your audience every single day. So if you're working a sphere of influence, which is how in my head I would think that a new real estate agent might be trying to work, that would be a real good way to get in front of them, in my opinion. How would you use that, Josh? Or you probably just suggested it. You do the 2-minute vignette and then you'd...
Yeah, well, I think it's great. Well, first of all, I mean, one of the things that you're probably doing is previewing homes, right? You're out in the marketplace anyway. So just take people on a tour with you. Let them turn it into like a reality TV show. You can even do things. I'm a big fan of creating content that serves the community. So if you're at your local coffee shop, go live and talk about the fact that this is your favorite local spot and this is the brew that you like, and let me know in the comments what brew you like. It doesn't have to always be, real estate specific and have a real estate call to action. It's about staying in front of your sphere of influence and staying top of mind with them, such that, the worst experience as a real estate agent is when you find out somebody in your sphere bought or sold a home with someone else because they forgot that that's what you do, because you didn't do a good enough job of reminding them, but not in a way that's, in their face or anything like that. You're just doing it in a cool way, a way that is engaging and interesting and entertaining. So I think there's lots of ways that you can do that. You can interview local businesses, go live and just, interview someone live at houses. If you're waiting for a client to tour a home, you could do a little shot there. You can do driving tours. You might need to have some help with that, right? You don't necessarily want to be going live while you're driving, but you can take a tour of a neighborhood, check out a new construction home or neighborhood. There are lots of ways that you can leverage that idea, that live idea for content with just this and a Facebook account. And If you have those others too, great. But I mean, that alone is going to The trick though is the consistency, right? Doing it once is not, you might get a client from it, but it's the doing it consistently that is going to create like a snowball effect for you ongoing.
Excellent. Well, guys, I'm going to give everybody a piece of actionable data, somewhere you can find somebody that's using 3 of the 6 ideas that Josh just mentioned right now. That agent is Christoph Chu. He's been voted the video master by what are they called? The email video bomb. He's been voted like the most, and he's also been voted the same thing by Ferry, not Mike, but his son, Tom Ferry. So over and over again, this guy gets voted #1 in the world for real estate video content, and he's doing much of what Josh just suggested. He does previews, drives, he does conversations with his clients. Actually, I'm wrong. He does more than that, and he also does market updates. I am thrilled to say that I know this guy and that he's a fantastic human being on top of everything else. Go ahead.
Can I just have a word of caution?
Yeah.
I could not agree more. What an incredible person to go and look at and model. Don't let it intimidate you. He's really good on video, but you know what? He wasn't when he started. He's really good because he's been consistently doing it for a long time. So a great person to model, but the key is, and the reason why he's so good is he does it and 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 he does it. So Christoph is the man.
I just got kind of one last question before we wrap it up, and thank you so much for your insights, Josh. It's been a pleasure, this interview. You mentioned a really crucial word there, consistency.
Yeah.
And in the real estate industry, for obvious reasons, because you've been part of it, that is difficult for a lot of agents. Have you got any kind of insights or anything about how you deal with the madness of the industry, but keep that consistency so you're in front of your target audience?
Yeah, I think 2 things. I think you got to keep it simple, which is easier said than done. But I that's in everything that I do. The older I get, the more frequently I'm asking is, what can I do to make this simpler? How can I? Because if it's complex, it oftentimes doesn't get done, right? It becomes overwhelming. So how can we simplify and then have a plan? Every Monday, I'm going to make this. Every Tuesday, I'm going to do this. Every Wednesday, I'm going to do this. And this may only take 15, 20, 30 minutes, but having that plan and blocking the time and know that, okay, Monday is my market update day. Tuesday is, where I'm going to go preview a house and do a short little video. Wednesday is when I'm going to start compiling the list of open houses this weekend, whatever. Thursday is X, and Friday, like Friday for me, my content on Friday is I look at Facebook events locally and I compile the fun events or the events that look like fun for the weekend. And I just share those out. I create a little blog post and I say, hey, here's what's going on this weekend in our area that you might find interesting, right? So keeping it simple and having a plan, and then obviously sticking to that plan, which it's way easier to stick to that plan if the plan is simple, or if the process is simple and the plan is simple, right? If those 2 things are confusing or complicated or difficult, then it's going to be harder to stick to the plan.
I think that's great insight. Josh, like I say, it's been a pleasure interviewing you. Must come back on the show. He is from the Client Alchemist. Like I say, a little pun I've been consistently doing during the show. He turns lead into gold. So it's been a pleasure. And we'll see you next week, folks, where we have another great guest. We'll see you soon. Bye.